The NBA player base is made up entirely of American players. But what if I told you the best players at the highest level of basketball come from overseas? If we take a look at the most recent MVPs, none of them are American-based players. We have two-time MVP Nikola Jokic and Giannis Antetokounmpo. And 4 of the past 5 defensive players of the year have been from overseas too. In this season, the top 4 candidates for MVP are all players who are not born from the United States. That being Luka Doncic, Nikola Jokic, Joel Embiid, and Giannis Antetokounmpo. It might be safe to say that the international stars are the ones becoming the face of the NBA. So what's going on in the NBA? Have American players fallen inferior to international players? And why are international players dominating the league? Let's find out. And before we jump into this one, go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button. Many of today's international players say that stars like Dirk, Paul Gasol, Hakeem Olajuwon was a major influence in their love in the game of basketball. I believe that's what's causing an eruption of players from overseas to come into the NBA. The NBA has done a great job in putting different programs across the world to influence younger children. That, with the influence of seeing other international players dominate the league, inspires them to play, and there are freaks of nature everywhere, in my opinion. Let's take a look at the projected first overall pick for the 2023 draft, Victor Wembanyama. A generational talent sitting at 7'2", plays like a baby Durant, who's considered to be the best prospect since LeBron James is not even American. He mentions that growing up, his favorite players were Giannis and KD, and he tries to model his playstyle to a mixture of the two. Basketball's popularity in other nations has led to an increase in international players coming into the league. And as I've mentioned a few moments ago, there are freaks of natures everywhere. They probably just decided to play another sport. I would think of it like if Americans were deeply interested in soccer as other countries are. I believe if that were to happen, we'd have top American players dominating in that sport too. Just think if LeBron were to play goalie or Russell Westbrook played center forward. They'd probably end up breaking all-time records just because how talented they are physically. According to Business Insider, the percentage of international players in the NBA was just at 1.7% in the 1980-1981 season. Then it took a jump to 9.8 in the 1999 and 2000 season. Now looking at this chart, an average of 20% of the players in the NBA are from overseas. That's a huge jump, and I wouldn't be surprised if the number grows larger. The amount of star players that are born outside the US are steadily growing too. As I mentioned earlier, the top 4 players in the MVP race are international players. I made this chart, and what I want you to do is I want you to sit and pick which team would you rather have. Notice that none of the players from the left side are from the US. The NBA always had international players be some of the top players, but nowadays, there are more international stars who are in the top 10. One of the best Europeans to ever touch the basketball was Dirk Nowitzki. This man made a living off his one-leg turnaround jump shot and also made the Big Three in Miami look mortal. Now, let's take a look at the MVP voting from when Dirk Nowitzki won it in 2007. Dirk is the only international player within 15 spots in that race. That just proves that there are simply just more special basketball players coming from different parts of the world. So if there's a lot of talent coming from overseas and we have freaks like Wembanyama, players with a ton of skills like Dirk and Luka, why aren't there 50% of the NBA player base not born from the United States? To give a possible answer to this question, I want to take a look at one of the top international players in the MVP race, Luka Doncic. Luka Doncic is one of those examples of a talented international player sticking to one sport and playing better than most at the highest level. At the young age of 17, Luka would help lead Slovenia to its first Eurobasket title, and right before entering the draft, he would lead Madrid to a Euro title and win EuroLeague MVP that year. However, there are many players that win this award and have similar seasons, but they're not doing the same thing that Luka is doing in the NBA right now. For example, the 2021-22 EuroLeague MVP went to Nikola Mirotic, but when he was in the NBA, Nikola Mirotic averaged 12 points and 5 rebounds for his career. Mirotic was a pivotal stretch 4-piece to many teams, but nonetheless, he shocked the world when he left a 3-year, $45 million deal to go play overseas. Now, does this mean that Mirotic could have been putting up numbers like Luka? I don't think so. But I believe that Mirotic could have been used more than just a pick and pop player in the NBA. In an interview, he says that I was expected to score 10 points, take a couple of rebounds, and that's it. I felt like time was passed and I hadn't played the best basketball in my life. So why aren't there more international stars in the NBA? It could be that the talent is there, but they're used more as a role player. This example just shows that more international players could come and take a roster spot in the NBA, but some would rather go home and have bigger roles overseas. Roles would diminish and it wouldn't be worth it for them in the NBA. All in all, the NBA is becoming bigger overseas and it's causing serious talent from all over the world to come into the league. I personally like it. So, are international players taking over the NBA? Let me know down in the comments. Thanks for watching and see you all next time.